Hi, thanks for watching. Ahead of the meeting, I just wanted to jump in here quickly and do a brief little video walkthrough of how we can use your website and leverage all of the search results to try to attract more clients to the business. The reason why I start with a website is because it's the intellectual property that you own and it's always going to be there so long as you maintain and keep the website up and running. Whereas if we run any kind of advertising, whether it's digital or print, as soon as the ad is gone, your entire presence goes along with it and disappears. The website will always be there, and it's kind of like building equity in your own brand. Any kind of time, effort, or money that's spent here is going to pay you off in the long run as an investment and pay you back because it's always going to be there and it'll always come up in search, regardless of the number of clicks and regardless for how long it's been. Um, so interestingly enough, when I do a search for notary services here in my area of North Smithfield, you do come up in the map section, which is fantastic. However, there is nothing being shown in the organic section for your actual website. Um, when Google is determining in what order to rank websites, it's using a few different factors. And the way I can see how that all works is I can take your website address and I can plug it into this tool that I use, and it shows me all the information that Google sees to determine your position. And then what I just want to do quickly is just kind of run through what these numbers mean. So as we're looking over your site, we can talk about what kind of changes will affect this and then what kind of results you can expect from it. So when Google is determining how to rank a website, it basically uses two factors if we want to boil this down. The first is what's called the authority or trust that it has in your site. Now, this basically boils down to a popularity contest because this authority is gained when other domains or websites link back to yours and then they create a link that's called a backlink. Now, this acts as an endorsement that Google uses to build trust because others are vouching for you. So, to give you a quick example, if, say, a local news station did an article on their website saying the top 10 best places for notary signing services in the state of Rhode Island, and in that article, they mentioned you and your company, and there was a link that the reader could click and it would bring them to your website, that would be considered one backlink from one referring domain. Now, these backlinks can come in a lot of different forms: blogs, editorials, guest posting, press releases. A very important, strong one is called a citation, and that's anytime that you appear, your name, address, and phone number are listed in a directory. And that's anywhere from Yelp, Better Business Bureau, all the way down to Yellow Pages and things like that. A majority of those are free. It just takes some time to find them and register your business as exactly as it's shown in Google search. Now, the other half of that equation is, or the second factor, is the content on the page. Google is really pushing for higher quality content. And what that means is, if we take a look here at your keywords, these are all the words and phrases that Google is either finding on your site or implicitly associating with your site based on what it's reading. Now, the danger here is we really want to be very explicit and tell Google exactly what we want. So that way it doesn't accidentally put things together and it also doesn't have to guess. We want to take all the guesswork out so that way we can be attracting the exact type of clients that you want in the exact areas. But what Google also wants to see is it doesn't want to just find these keywords. We need to basically give enough information about that keyword topic so that way Google understands that not only are you relevant to the search, but you're also providing some kind of either answer to a question or a response to a query to whatever is being searched to justify adding you to that list in the search results. It's not good enough just to have these on the page. We need to qualify them on your page by having enough content to back them up. And that's why in previous years, we used to just be able to list service areas and Google would pick you up for each one of those service areas. But now we can't just put a list. We have to literally create content. We usually recommend about anywhere from 100 to 150 words of content per keyword so that we have enough chance to qualify it and Google will see that as quote unquote high quality content. Now, if we take a look at your page, this is this is basically what I'm talking about. If we have a keyword like this, we definitely want to have some content for each one. I would say we'd probably want to add a little bit more just to be on the safe side. Like I said, we usually recommend 100 to 150. This is where a list, unfortunately, Google isn't going to pick any of these up. It basically puts this into a category what we call keyword stuffing. So it sees the density, the amount of keywords that you have per words on the page, and if that ratio is too far off, then it won't pick up these keywords because it'll just assume that you're not adding enough information to justify you being enough of a either knowledge or authority on the topic for Google to recommend in the search results. So this is where I would say we would definitely want to add some more content to the page. But beyond that, the structure of the page itself really matters. Now, I can go into this in a little bit further detail, but basically, if you think of doing an outline for any kind of like college course, you have your main heading, which is going to be the overall topic of that outline in that section, if you will, and then any heading underneath that, like a subheading, still goes underneath that main heading because it's relative to that topic, but it might be a specific portion of it or a specific subset or subtopic that's within that main topic group. So this is what we call a heading structure. So our H1 needs to be our main heading for the entire page. Then H2 would be subheadings of that, H3, H4, and so on. The way your page is structured right now, through no fault of your own, just through the website building, we don't have a clear vision for Google to understand what is going on in this page to find those keywords that are appropriate and also important. So right now, your first H1 that it comes across, which it isn't the first on the page, which is also an issue, but um, the convenience for my clients' mobile services. So Google is going to look at that as this is the most important thing on the page because this is the first H1. But there's really no keywords in there that are relevant to your service or that we really want to get picked up. So, and then it finds all these as headings, but like I said, there's not really a whole lot of content around them. And then we're back to H1s again, which there really should only be one H1 on a page. And we're back to banks, courts, offices, same thing. These aren't when people are typing in notary bank. This might not be what you're looking for, but you're definitely not looking to come up for a search that's just about banks. If somebody's looking for a bank, they're definitely not looking for you. So this is where structuring the page itself is the first step as far as making content, and then adding the amount of content that we need per each heading. Then we also want to separate the information by page. And the reason I say that is when Google is looking on a website to recommend it, if you have, let's say, 5 different topics on one page, and one of those is what somebody is searching for, Google's going to look at you and say, okay, well, you have a 20% match. You have 1 out of 5. But if you have an entire page dedicated to just that one keyword or that one topic, now that page is 100% relevant, more likely for Google to bring it up in search because that's more quality content specific to just this exact keyword phrase that they're searching for. So this is where I would say we'd want to get this off of the single page format and separate this out into individual pages for services, individual pages for locations. The reason why I say locations is because obviously people are searching for just Providence, Rhode Island. Then we have the generic Rhode Island side. Interestingly enough, if I search Notary Providence, you are not coming up in the map section here. This is part of your Google business profile. It's completely separate from your website. However, you are down here, page 2 of the actual search. So at least you're coming up here in the search results. We'd obviously want to get that a little bit higher up here. Normally when we're talking about this, we're looking at quote unquote competitors. Your competitors, from what it looks like, are basically libraries and a little bit of UPS stores. Those, unfortunately, because they're public entities, they have a lot of links going back to them. So they have built a lot of trust and authority. These numbers right here are a scale of 1 to 100. The domain rating is the strength of the entire every single page. If you add up all of the strength of every single page, all the links that are going back to each individual page, and you add that power up, this is the ranking that it gets from 0 to 100. So the individual page for notary services for Providence Library is actually weak, but the entire domain itself is very strong because they have almost 18,000 links from 1,000 different places, whereas you have 11 links from 9 different places, and you don't haven't built that trust and authority. Google doesn't have that same trust and authority in your website, which is why it's not ranking so high. So this is where we want to do a 2-part process. We would want to potentially redesign this so that way we can have better structure, better quality content on there, and we can get all the proper keywords that we want. For instance, right here, Notary Rhode Island. That's being searched 100 times a month. That's definitely a good one that we would want to add to there as well, besides just the Providence stuff. But I would do all the keyword research to find the proper keywords that we want to be found for that are relative to the services you offer in this area. Structure the website accordingly to the proper headings and also the proper amount of content so that way we can qualify those keywords. Separate out, create some location pages, some service pages, basically separate this from a single page format so we can get each page topically relevant to that one topic. And then you'd want to start connecting and building links from your website to others, whether it's getting more of those citations of the business directories, writing some blog posts, connecting to, maybe sending out some press releases or guest posting on other sites, things like that. These are all services that we basically have what I call headhunters to find topically relevant websites that allow us to link back to yours so we can start to build this trust and authority. I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but if this is something that you want to take on, I'm more than happy to continue our conversation about discussing how to redesign a website so we can get it to be working for you. Because as you can see, somebody was running an ad here. Yeah, so Ray's Mobile Notary. This is a pay-per-click ad. This is, normally if you do the ad properly, it should be at the top of the page. But every time somebody clicks on this, whether or not they use his services or not, it costs him money. Once that threshold is reached for his budget for a day, the ad completely disappears and he's gone along with it, nowhere to be found. That is the power of having your website organically ranking, because regardless of how long it's been or the number of clicks, your website is always going to be there to generate leads for you and pay you back in the long term. So love to talk to you about this more during our meeting if it's something that interests you, and I'll be seeing you shortly.